They expected another easy midday chatter, Prince discussing charity, a panel of experienced hosts nodding along. But the moment Prince Harry stepped onto the view set, the atmosphere changed. He wasn't there to charm. He was there to teach, to lecture, to make sure everyone knew exactly who they were dealing with. And the women across the table weren't about to let him glide through without a challenge. The studio buzzed with an energy almost tangible. Audience members gripped their coffee cups, leaning forward as the stage manager counted down from 5. Behind the desk, Whoopi Goldberg shuffled her notes. Joy Behar adjusted her glasses, and Sharon Osbourne tapped a manicured nail on her mug, her eyes flicking toward the entrance. From the side of the stage, Prince Harry appeared. The applause sign lit up, though it hardly mattered. The crowd clapped enthusiastically, some cheering. Harry, in a sharply tailored navy suit, moved deliberately, a faint smile on his lips as if surveying subjects rather than greeting guests. "Harry, welcome to the View," Whoopi said warmly, extending her hand. "Thank you," he replied, smooth but precise, hinting at impatience. "It's good to be here, speaking with people who care about the world beyond their own bubble." It was meant as a compliment. It landed like a dart. Sharon's head tilted slightly. Joy glanced at Whoopi, who shrugged ever so slightly. The cameras captured every nuance. The opening questions were softballs, the type every publicist loves. Harry spoke about his foundation's latest project for wounded veterans, listing figures and telling moving anecdotes. Yet even in these stories, a note of superiority lingered. Each answer felt like a small lecture, framed as if he alone understood sacrifice. Joy leaned forward. "How do you balance this work with family life? I imagine it pulls you in different directions." Ari smiled a smile carrying subtext. "It's all about discipline. You either manage it well or you don't. I suppose I'm used to pressure." Joy's eyebrow rose. "And you don't think we know anything about pressure?" she teased. "Not on the scale I'm talking about," Harry replied instantly. The audience reacted with a ripple of laughter and murmurs. Sharon's nails tapped faster on her mug. Whoopi tried to smooth it over. "Different kinds of pressure, I guess," perhaps Harry said, leaning back. "But let's not pretend they're equal." "It was the first real crack in the glass," Sharon spoke. "Sounds like you've had a tough time then. Life in the palace must have been dreadful." Her tone was light, but the steel underneath was clear. Harry turned toward her. "It's not about the palace, Sharon. It's about duty. Something I don't expect everyone here to understand." The audience collectively said, "Ew." Whoopi leaned back slightly, eyes widening. "Is that right?" Sharon said, leaning forward, elbows on the desk. "Because I understand duty very well. I also understand that in America, we don't curtsy to anyone at the table." Harry's smile was small, almost amused. "Yes, the famous American frankness, though I've noticed it often comes wrapped in ego." "Better than wrapped in entitlement," Sharon shot back. The tension thickened. Joy glanced between them, weighing whether to step in. "Let's get back to the Veterans Gala." "We will," Harry said smoothly, "but perhaps we should clear the air. I'm picking up on a certain hostility." Sharon laughed, short and sharp. "No hostility, Harry, just an observation. You've been here 10 minutes and managed to sound like the only adult in the room, and I'm starting to wonder if you actually believe that." Harry's expression remained unchanged. "I don't believe it." "I know it." The audience reacted, louder this time. Whoopi raised her hand. "Okay, let's not." Harry cut her off, calm but clipped. "If we're going to have an honest discussion, let's not dress barbed questions up as innocent ones." Sharon didn't flinch. "And if we're going to have a guest on the show, let's make sure he understands this isn't Buckingham Palace. You're not owed deference here." "Deference?" Harry repeated with a faint chuckle. "I wouldn't expect it." "Respect would be nice, though." And that works both ways, Sharon said. For a moment, neither looked away. The room seemed to lean toward them, everyone anticipating what came next. Whoopi jumped in, voice light but firm. Let's take a breath. Harry, the gala? Harry's eyes returned to her, the smile lingering more than expected. He didn't look at Sharon when he spoke, but everyone knew it was directed at her. Sharon took a slow sip from her mug, eyes fixed on him. The camera framed them tightly. Neither blinked. Neither broke. It was supposed to be a warm start. It was already a Cold War. The stage manager's fingers scissored, 2 minutes till break. Whoopi caught the signal, smiled at the wrong camera, then found the right one. Snapping the show back into frame with seasoned precision. We're back with Prince Harry, she said evenly. Talking service, family, and what it takes to build something that lasts. Which I would love to do, Harry replied, smooth as lacquer. If we can keep the noise to a minimum. He didn't look at Sharon when he said it, he didn't need to. Joy forced a laugh that bruised on its way out. All right, let's keep it constructive, Harry. About the gala. Constructive. Harry echoed, turning to her with a winter-clear gaze. Yes, that would be new. Joy blinked. New. New for this table. He let the words hang. Look, I respect the platform, but let's not pretend I'm here to be cross-examined by people who skim the briefing on the way to makeup. A scattering of murmurs surfaced. Others shushed them. Joy's jaw worked, then sat. I read your whole brief and your book twice. Then you know I'm allergic to loaded questions. Harry smiled like glass. Ask what you actually mean, the audience murmured, a sea turning. Whoopi stepped in, gentle but edged. Okay, so I'll ask it plain. When people hear you speak about breaking cycles, they also see the deals, the cameras, the constant storytelling. Some hear healing, others hear monetizing. What do you call it? Necessary, Harry said without pause. When an institution ignores pain, you put it on the record yourself. Sharon tipped her mug toward him. And when the record becomes the brand? Harry finally met her eyes. And when the brand becomes a cudgel, when critics pretend their curiosity is civic duty. He folded his hands. Honesty isn't a cudgel. It's a compass. Sharon's smile was polite. The words were not. Your compass seems to point wherever the check's clear. Harry breathed, amused. Ah, there it is. The old chorus, shut up and be grateful. Sorry, I didn't fly across an ocean to curtsy to that. Good, Sharon shot back. Because this is America. We don't curtsy. We clap back. And right now, I'm clapping back at the tone. You've called Whoopi's questions noise. You told Joy she skims. That's not honesty. That's hot. Harry pivoted to the camera, all charm. If I've been brusque, it's because I've lived the consequences of soft-pedaled truth. It kills slowly. Whoopi tried to steer again. Let's anchor in outcomes. You've raised real money. You've opened doors for veterans. Talk to me about tangible next steps jobs, counseling, pilot sites. San Diego expands next quarter, Harry said. Norfolk is greenlit. We're building family support that actually works, not just hashtags and handshakes. He paused just long enough. And we'll do it with or without the blessing of daytime TV. There it was, the superior flair that sent a tremor through the audience. Joy's fingers drummed once on the desk. We're daytime TV, she said softly, and we brought you here to amplify the work. You don't have to step on people to stand tall. Harry considered her, then offered a nod stopping miles short of contrition. Noted? Sharon watched that nod like a hawk watches grass. There's the royal non-apology, she said. You hear without owning. Harry's smile thinned. You want ownership. I own my choices. I also own my right not to be talked to like a naughty schoolboy. Then stop acting like one, Sharon said, voice suddenly velvet and blade. Because the attitude at this table today, the correction, the condescension, that's royal Brad energy. And I'll say it to your face, this isn't England. You don't get to swan in and grade everyone's questions like your staff. A cheer popped somewhere in the balcony. A hiss met it from the front rows. The floor manager windmilled a rap, but no one rapped. Harry leaned in, elbows on knees, utterly still. Let me be frank in your language, he said. People like you, people like me, Sharon repeated low, have made a business model of slicing open families and calling it journalism. Yes, I chose to tell my story. Your industry chose to hunt it. There's a difference. Sharon lifted her chin slightly. My industry also chooses when to call a guest rude. Consider this, that moment. Rude is a soft word, Harry said, his voice cooling another degree. What I've weathered is cruelty, and I'm watching its training wheel wobble on this table. Whoopi cut across firmly. We aren't doing cruelty. We're doing accountability. So here's mine. Tone down the sneer. We can hold your story and still ask hard questions. I can answer. Harry said without pretending the blade was a hug. Joy inhaled, making a choice. Okay, hard question. If you say you're breaking cycles, why do so many people feel like you're repeating one? Public pain for public payoff. Harry's eyes slid to her, not angry, just tired of disguising it. Because they don't understand or they don't want to. Some people here included. Joy flinched barely. That's unfair. So is most of my life, he said, and the chill of the line gave the audience goosebumps. Sharon set her mug down like a gavel. You know what else is unfair? Taking potshots at people's families when you lose your footing. Harry didn't blink. Is that your preamble to talking about mine again? It's my warning, Sharon said. Keep my family out of your mouth. I've taken my lumps on air for decades. I've owned my mess. But you won't use it as a trampoline. Harry tilted his head. You've certainly jumped on mine. Sharon's voice stayed low. You put yours on a stage and sold tickets. The audience vibrated, a hive deciding whether to swarm. Harry's silence stretched until it snapped. Fine, he said, each syllable polished. You want the unvarnished version. You call me entitled and arrogant because I won't play nice with the table that confuses kindness for weakness. You sneer at my protection of my family while you've built segments out of yours. Sharon's eyes flashed. You don't get to weaponize my life to excuse your manners. I'm not weaponizing, Harry said. I'm pointing out hypocrisy. You've spoken for years about your husband's addiction, struggles bravely, publicly. You understand pain in public, so spare me the performance of shock that I won't bow to yours. A hush dropped, heavy as lead. Sharon's fingers curled once around the rim of her mug. Don't you dare use my family as a shield for your contempt. My husband owned his demons. My children have their journeys. You don't get to smear them to win a segment. I didn't smear, Harry said. I acknowledged what you made public to make a point you don't like. You built a brand out of endurance. So did I. The difference is, I won't pretend to be grateful for the whip. Joy's voice came quick, pleading. Harry, enough. Keep it on your side of the street. I'm perfectly on my street. Then lower your voice in our neighborhood, Sharon snapped. The steel was back. Because your royal diction wrapped around insults isn't nobility. It's just disrespect with a nice suit. Applause cracked across the room like hail. Harry waited for it to die, then spoke very softly, forcing the microphones to lean in. Disrespect, he said, is asking me to excuse the very tactics that nearly broke my family because they come with a smile and a daytime jingle. Whoopi had had enough. We are going to break. She looked at the stage manager and cut her hand in the air. Break. The red light died. The studio exhaled in 100 stuttering breaths. Handlers surged. Water bottles appeared. The bandleader asked a question no one heard. Joy stared at the surface of her mug as if it were a pond showing her a better choice from 5 minutes ago. Sharon and Harry didn't move. "Do you ever hear yourself?" Sharon asked, voice pitched low for him. Not the crowd, not the words, the way. You fold the table into a lecture and call it enlightenment. "Do you ever hear yourself?" Harry returned in the same volume, same precision. You poke the bruise and call it accountability. A producer ghosted to the desk, whispered to Whoopi, then retreated. Whoopi rubbed her forehead, then her eyes as if dragging the headache out the front. Back in 5. The stage manager mouthed, fingers ticking down. 4, 3. The red light reignited. Whoopi rallied. "We're back. Let's pivot to solutions, please." Harry, concretely, "If someone's watching at home, a spouse, what help is available now?" Harry took the lifeline. Counseling without a 6-month queue. Real job pipelines, not just resume workshops. Immediate relief funds for families in crisis. And peer networks you can trust, people who've been there. "That's solid," Joy said genuinely. Sharon nodded once, professionally. "Good, because that's the only part of this that actually matters." Harry looked at her, something sparking that wasn't anger, something elemental. "Then stop trying to make the rest of it a circus." "Then stop walking in like the ringleader," Sharon returned. Whoopi's smile held by sheer will. Okay, we've got time for one more question in this block." She shuffled cards that didn't need shuffling. "Harry, if you could say one thing to people who feel you've trashed the institution that raised you, what would it be?" He didn't hesitate. "You can love a house and still fix the rot. You can moan a country and still refuse to be its cautionary tale." "Lovely," Sharon said, somehow making it sound like a challenge. "Now try saying it without talking down to everyone who asks you how." Harry's patience gave a small, audible creak. "You know the funny thing about the talking down? People only hear it that way when they're staring up from a pedestal. They built it for themselves." Sharon's lips parted, not in shock, but in acceptance that the only way out was through. "Here's my last word for this block," she said, turning to the camera. Then back to Harry. "You've mistaken bluntness for brutality. We can tell the truth without bayonets. Start with that." Span swelled. The red light died. Applause hit on reflex. Chairs scraped. The room uncoiled by inches. A security guard took half a step closer to the wing and froze. Joy sank back, blew out a breath. "If you're not surviving 2 more blocks of that," she whispered. Whoopi didn't answer. She was watching Harry and Sharon, still facing each other, not speaking, their silence louder than any line they'd thrown. Somewhere above the lights, heat shimmered. Somewhere behind the glass, a producer said, "If it breaks, we let it. We're already in it." On the desk, a cue card trembled in the AC draft. On the carpet, a line no one had drawn was now visible to everyone, and somewhere in the space between a prince's pride and a broadcaster's backbone, something brittle and bright was waiting to snap. He read tally light blinked on. Whoopi gave the thinnest of smiles to the camera. "We're back with Prince Harry," she said. "And I think we've covered a lot of ground this morning. Let's try to end on a high note." Joy nodded quickly. "Yes. Let's, Harry. Maybe you could share a story from your work that really gives people hope." Harry leaned toward his mic. Tone smooth again, but his eyes still hard. "Hope comes from truth, and sometimes that truth is uncomfortable, especially for people used to hearing only what flatters them." Sharon's nails tapped once on the desk. "You mean the people who've been trying to ask you reasonable questions for the past half hour?" Harry didn't flinch. I mean the people who confuse curiosity with entitlement. The ones who think they can talk over me because they don't like the answers. Sharon leaned in. No one's talking over you, Harry. In fact, we've been listening to you go on and on, all while tossing little grenades about my colleagues, about me, about my family. Harry's mouth curled. If the grenade fits. The audience gasped sharply, sucking the oxygen out of the room. Sharon set her mug down with finality. You really are proving my point. You're not here for a conversation. You are here to lecture and then get offended when someone calls you out. Pure royal arrogance. You're not in England anymore. No one here owes you reverence. Harry's tone dropped cold and deliberate. And you're not the queen of anything here, Sharon. Just another loud voice trading on old scandals to stay relevant. Joy winced audibly. Whoopi raised both hands. All right, let's not. Sharon cut her off, her voice gaining speed and bite. You know what you are, Harry. A man with no career outside your surname. You've made a mess of your family. Your marriage is tabloid fodder. And you've built nothing that lasts longer than a news cycle. Without that last name, you're just another guy in a nice suit playing at being important. The audience roared, some cheering, others booing, all on their feet. The cameras caught Harry's jaw tightening, his knuckles whitening against the desk. Whoopi leaned in, pleading. Harry, take a second. But Harry's voice cut through, sharp as broken glass. I don't need a second. I've had a lifetime of this people pretending to care when they're just waiting for the soundbite. I won't give you another one. And with that, he unclipped his mic, set it down with a deliberate tap, and stood. Harry. Joy started. No, he said, already moving toward the wing. I'm done. I've said what I came to say. The rest is just noise. The studio erupted. Security stepped forward, producers waved their arms, audience members shouted. Sharon watched him go, expression unreadable. Chin high. As Harry reached the curtain, he turned once, just enough for the cameras to catch the final line. You wanted honesty. There it is. Enjoy your ratings. And then he was gone. The red light blinked out. Whoopi exhaled hard, looking straight into the camera that was no longer live. Well, she said, that happened. The audience buzzed like a hive. Sharon sat back, folded her arms, and let the noise wash over her. She had landed her blows. Harry had walked. Daytime television had its new viral moment, and neither of them would come out of it unchanged.